Hey, today we're going to talk about Veto. So this is my like first impressions. This is literally the first time I've gone into like a custom game on Veto, and I want to just talk about how cool he is, honestly, and also how interesting his abilities are, and some of my concerns. I think that overall, maybe the overall community is reacting a bit overhyped to his abilities. I think. I do think that he has a really strong ability, but then I think the rest of his kit is kind of okay. And his ult we'll talk about very soon. So we'll talk about the Inceptor first, and I think that it does have a level of strength, but it also isn't as good as I think people realize, right? It's very weak in terms of its health pool, right? So it can be shot really easily. So in situations where, for instance, you're going to be attacking a site, where you're going to have like, you're going to do this, right? And then you're going to activate it so it like destroys all the trips or like whatever's going to be here, right? In the situation that there's anyone watching this, it gets shot and one bulleted, right? It does have value in itself that way, because think about it like this, right? If a Sova dart comes into the site and it gets shot, you then have info of where that dart was shot from, usually, if you're close enough, right? Same thing with the Interceptor. If it gets shot while it's in the air, like say if it gets shot from like over here, right? You know the person's dice. Or if it gets shot from over here, you know the person's gen. So it's going to give you a level of information, even if it doesn't quite get its full value off. Obviously, the Interceptor does have more value than Recon in terms of like what it's actually doing, right? Recon is only going to reveal where the people are, so then if they shoot it, then it reveals one person's location. It kind of does half the job. But then if you shoot it Interceptor instead, the Interceptor's job is actually to destroy util. So if someone shoots it, you're not really getting the job out of it, if that makes sense. So it does have more potential chance of like not doing its job and being quite useless in those situations. So it is all about sometimes as well, probably just mixing up its location, although it does feel a bit like a breach flash where it's kind of just like doing a tiny bit but not really doing that much, because when you mix up like a breach flash on the wall, it doesn't really change much. But I think that's kind of the same with the Interceptor, is that if you change where it is in like elevation or whatever, they're still going to shoot it if they see it, right? So yeah, I think the Interceptor's fine, but I don't think it's like too crazy. I think the main place where it shines is post plant. And I think I remember like hearing Tarek talk about this, where he wanted like an umbrella that would stop utility. This is kind of that concept, right? You place it in the air, you have it active, and then you start defusing, right? And then it has to be that they have to either shoot the Interceptor, which obviously, like if you place it correctly, they won't be able to shoot the Interceptor without fighting you, right? So you could even tap and then try and fight with the Interceptor on. And then like the util can't come down and can't like block you off. Brim mollies, Viper mollies, Sova shock darts can't reach the bomb, right? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it won't work against Soveralt. I'm assuming Soveralt is not a projectile that can be affected by Interceptor, but I actually don't know. I'm pretty sure it can't. That'd be kind of crazy. And animation-wise, it'd be kind of weird. So I doubt it can be stopped. So stuff like Soveralt are probably still going to be fine. But yeah, I think overall this is where the Inception might actually shine, because it can create a lot of pressure in those post-plant situations. Next, we're going to talk about the chokehold, I think it's called, which is basically just C's, but it's like a trip instead, or like a trip as well. So it's going to be good in situations where you just need anti-flank most of the time on attack, right? If you already have, I think that Veto will shine the most in double sentinel setups, to be honest. But I also think he's fine by himself, because of this ability, right? Sometimes you just need a trip to watch the flank, and that's what it is, right? That's kind of what it is. You will get the value as well. Like for instance, like think about it on Ascent as well. You can get value like map control, so you can have it like this, or you can have it probably like this, or like somewhere like it's hidden, not quite like straight up shootable. And then you can go watch mid while your team take A, right? So then like you've got like the full map control. Like there is no range. So what you can do as well is that you can have the map control B, and then you can go A, and your teammates can go take mid. And then they also have this trap to watch their B flank, and they've got you to watch the A flank. So you're not limited like old chamber was. With the chamber, well, it says new old chamber. I don't know, the chamber trip radius, and also with the killjoy stuff as well. You're not limited in terms of map control, which is honestly a really big thing. And I actually think that's something they should change. I think that he does need a range on his chokehold, to be honest. But I understand the reason why they don't have that is because it can behave like a Killjoy molly in that sense, where you can kind of have lineups for it. This is not a lineup, by the way. I just randomly threw it, and you can kind of tell I did not have a lineup there. But yeah, it's like a Killjoy molly, right? So you can throw it, and it can just go into places that were quite useful. Ideally, not the places where I'm currently throwing it. I mean, it's fine there, to be fair. But yeah, you get the idea, right? It can be thrown in good places to kind of be pseudo-initiator util, kind of similar to how Deadlock plays on attack, in my opinion. Just I think Deadlock is a bit worse and is quite a bit worse on attack than this character is than Veto is. So I've intentionally left this ability till last, and it's the TP, because the TP, this is like old chamber territory, and I'm talking about old chamber, where you can have 2 rendezvous and you can TP across the map, because there's actually just like crazy things you can do. Like if you set up on ascent like this, so you have like a TP here and you have like a TP like here, right, where it overlaps. You don't even have to have it here as well. You can have it further into market and just do a little bit of a walk. But you can go from a site all the way to like market area, like pretty much instantly, which is pretty insane. Like this stuff, like it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. The reason why he was strong on chamber though as well is because he could take a proactive fight and then be basically not only untradeable, but then he could also be on the other side of the map with like an operator and ready to like catch you when you try and rotate away, like that kind of stuff, right? Or he could go and catch like a lurker and then join his team again very, very easily, or vice versa. He could do something with his team and then go catch the lurker. So very, very strong things that he could do. And Veto is actually no different. Like you can do that type of stuff as well, and also he is a lot more not universal, a lot more versatile. So you can do things like this too, where you can have things that, like for instance, you're going to be taking a fight on main. One of the important things when you're taking a fight with this agent with the teleports is that you want to make sure that the teleport is in your peripheral view, very easy to go and like flick to basically, and where you can kind of just like instantly go to it after taking the fight. So you can take the fight and then you like jump her back and then teleport, and then in this point you can just teleport into mid and you'll take a fight mid or rotate or whatever, right? So you say if you just got to kill on like the lurker here, the late lurk, then you can go and check mid first if you want to, or you can just go straight teleport into pizza and then go hold mid for your team here. On top of that as well, the chokehold could actually just be watching this as well on defense. You don't even have to have this on your site, right? You can just put the chokehold in mid as well, so you can even play off the chokehold in that sense, where you can have a TP. Probably not in pizza, to be fair. It probably would be better if you had it in a position where they can't quite see you, because technically, right, if it gets triggered, they could still walk up to this area and see your TP, so they could be ready to kill you. So you would, like, say if the chokehold goes off, you could just insta-teleport to it and then punish the chokehold, right? That's also pretty cool. Something I don't know about this agent as well is like the health of these TPs. I don't know if these are shootable or not. They should be, right? They should be shootable for sure. I just don't know how much health they're going to have and if they're like shockable, nadeable, whatever, right? And lastly, I want to talk about the ult, and then I'll talk about like my final thoughts on Veto. So the ult itself, I think, is maybe a bit overreacted to, and there's like some logical chains with it. A bit with the ult, in the fact that if you use it at the start of the round, the enemy team will just not use their util that much, right? They'll use like important util that will like impact other players, but they won't really use it to try and impact you. And I think one of the most important and valuable things of this ult is to try and get the enemy players to use things on you, so then you can react with your ult and nullify those effects. So get the Brimstone to ult you, get the Breach to ult you, get the Sova to ult you, so then it's not ulting your teammates, and then you can just nullify the effect. I think that's where the real effect, the real value of this ult actually lies, rather than just activating at the start of the round like you might see Reynas do, or Jets do, or whatever, right? So I do think that this is like the most important part. And the other, like, the parts I kind of knock on from this is that you're not really going to be wasting the enemy's economy as much as you might think, because they're not going to be using things on you once they know that you have this ult up, right? They're not going to be trying to flash you. They're just going to be trying to fight you, right? So you're not really going to be wasting as much util as you might think with this ult. And I think that it's going to be one of these ults as well, that when people understand how to play against it, it's going to feel a lot worse. So I think as time goes on, it's going to be harder to get real value with this ult. Kind of depending on the individual also wielding the ult as well. I think that if you are a really, really strong mechanical player, then you are just going to beat people in the 1v1s. And you're going to be very, very happy doing it. It's kind of similar to ISO in that way, where you're kind of isolating fights in some ways, because a lot of the time you are getting, like, people are getting util to help them from their teammates rather than just like straight up trades. So in trades, obviously, it's not quite as good as ISO, because ISO will not get traded in his ult, obviously, unless like positioning is really bad. But like this character can isolate fights because of the util that was going to be used by your teammates will be gone. I think ISO is actually really good at punishing players that try and trade. with his ult, for instance, as well. Like, if trade up means you can't trade your teammate. But I think that this agent is kind of the opposite, where it's kind of like you need to try and trade your teammates because you can't just use utility to flush this guy out of places. You need to actually be able to trade your teammates. So I think that he actually embodies solo queue very, very well because it forces your team, the enemy, to actually play the situations as correctly as possible to try and win. So yeah, I think this agent is pretty good overall, but I think there might be a tiny bit of like overhype overall for like how strong the agent actually is. I think that he's fine. I don't think he's crazy. I think if anything is broken, it's going to be his TPs because his TPs look really insane. But I do think there's a level of like, he might be just be tradable because of how long it takes him to TP. And it's really going to be a skill to be able to position correctly so that you are able to have that enough time to teleport out. And in that way, he's also he's not as open as Chamber because Chamber can just sit in any angle as long as he's within his range and then basically be untradeable. Whereas this agent kind of needs to pick some certain off angles that he can then tuck into corners to then TP away, if that makes sense. So he's not quite as open as Chamber in his more like straight up aggressive plays. He can't be straight up aggressive. He can be like aggressive positionally, if that makes sense. And then he can teleport around and kind of cheat the macro, kind of similar to old Chamber, which is the really, really strong part of this agent. And it will probably get nerfed, to be honest. Even if the rest of the kit isn't quite as strong as what people are probably going to think. See, that's Veto. I think that he is going to be quite a fun agent to play. I'm not exactly sure if he's going to be super, super strong, but his teleports are definitely looking like they are going to make him quite strong. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one.